Hey, welcome back. In this video, we will discuss about the class attributes or the class properties in Python. So what exactly are the class properties? Properties are variables that belong to a class. They store data for each object created from the class. Okay? So here we have two different type of properties. So we have the class properties and we have the object properties. Okay. And what exactly is the difference between them? The properties defined inside of the init method belongs to each object, and these are called the instance properties. Okay, or instance attributes. Something like this one, self.name. Okay, so this is the example of the instance property. Okay, all right. And then properties defined outside methods belong to the class itself. Okay, and these are called the class properties and are shared by all objects. Okay, all right. So this is basically the definition of the class property. Currently, right now, inside of our person class, we do not have any sort of a class property or the class attribute yet. We will create that in this video. So as you can see, I am working with this person class, which we have created in the last videos. Okay, all right. And we are creating person 1 and person 2. Okay, so now all of the person which are being created by this person class should be human, right? So in that case, we can define a class property which is species, and that can be human. Okay, so here what we can do something like this: species equals to human. All right. As you can see, I am not defining species inside of the init method. Okay, I am defining the species outside of the init method, and I am not using the self also. Okay, the self keyword here will be available inside of the init method. We are not doing something like self.species. We are just saying species, and which is human. Okay, so this is the example of the class property. Okay, or the class attribute. Now how we can access this one, this species? So all of the objects which is being created by this person class will have this species attached to them. So here we are creating person 1 and person 2. Here what we can do something like this: print, and here person 1 dot species, and also person 2 dot species as well. Okay, all right. Now if I run the program, we are getting human here. Okay, but this is not how we usually access the class attributes. Okay, so this is good, we can do that, but it is not how we usually access the class attributes. To access the class attributes, we call the basically this particular thing the property with the class itself. So what do I mean by that? So here, if we want to access the species of the person, what we can do something like this. So print, then here we can call the class itself. So person dot species. Okay, now run the program, we are getting human. So as you can see, we are getting human here, okay, as the species. So this is how we access the class properties. Okay, now for example, what we want to keep track of all of the users or all of the persons that has been created by this person class. So how we can do that? We can do that by the class attributes here. So here we can do something like this: person created equals to, it will be starting from 0, and whenever we are creating the person, this init method will be called, And here we can update the person created. So how we can update that? We can update that by using the class itself here. So person dot, and then as you can see, we are having the person created. So plus equals to 1. Okay. So now what I can do, I can just get rid of this print statement here. I can print here person dot person created. I will copy this line and paste it down here. Okay. Now run the program. We are getting 0 and 2. Okay. So as you can see, in this way, by using this syntax, basically the class name and then the attribute with the dot, we can modify the class attributes here. Okay. So this is basically the class attributes. Also, what we can do, we can add a last name for our users as well, for our person, and we can add that here. Okay. So this is how we can create and modify the class attributes in Python. Okay. So in this video, what we have done, just recap. So we have been talking about the class attributes or the class properties. So we have seen two types of properties. One of them is the class property and another one is the object property. The object property is something like this, which we basically instantiate in the init method. And the class properties are these ones, which we instantiate outside of all of the methods. Basically, if I just do something like this, so count equals to something like 0. So what exactly will happen? This count variable will be scoped to this greet function, right? This is not a global variable and this is not a variable which we can access by using the class. Okay, so this is not a class attribute. All right, here is the example of the class attribute. Okay, so we have discussed about the class and the object properties, and here we have discussed about the instance properties and the class properties here as well. Okay, awesome. So these are the class attributes in Python.